The red soil of planet Epsilon 7 crunched under Marcus Cross's boots as he moved through the alien forest. His team of 5 Navy SEALs followed behind him in perfect formation. They had been tracking the signal for 3 hours now. Somewhere in this dense purple vegetation, there was evidence of what happened to the missing colony ships. Marcus raised his fist, and everyone stopped. His call sign was Reaper, a name he earned after 12 years of the most dangerous missions humanity could offer. At 34, he had seen combat on 4 different worlds. But this mission felt different. The forest was too quiet. Through his helmet display, thermal signatures appeared 200 meters ahead. Lots of them. Marcus counted at least 40 contacts. His heart rate stayed steady at 60 beats per minute. Fear was something he had learned to control long ago. Contact front, he whispered into his comm. Unknown hostiles. Defensive positions. His team scattered into cover behind the thick alien trees. The purple leaves above them filtered the orange sunlight into strange shadows. Marcus checked his rifle. Full magazine. 3 more in his vest. 4 grenades. His combat knife. It would have to be enough. The enemy came fast. They were nothing like the intelligence reports described. These creatures stood 7 feet tall on 4 legs with bodies covered in dark chitinous armor. Their heads were triangular with multiple eyes that glowed yellow in the dim forest light. They carried weapons that hummed with energy Marcus had never seen before. Open fire, Marcus shouted. The forest erupted with gunfire. Marcus squeezed his trigger in controlled bursts. His bullets found their marks, punching through the alien armor. The creatures screamed, a sound like metal scraping metal, but more kept coming. So many more. His team fought like the warriors they were. Jenkins took out 6 hostiles before a blue energy beam burned through his chest. Martinez lasted longer, his machine gun cutting down a dozen aliens before they overwhelmed his position. Marcus heard his friend scream once, then nothing. Marcus kept firing. Keep moving. Keep fighting. That was the SEAL way. He threw a grenade into a cluster of enemies. The explosion sent 3 of them flying. He rolled to new cover, changed magazines, and continued shooting. His training took over. Sight alignment, trigger control, breath, fire. 2 more of his team went down. Now it was just Marcus and Corpsman Riley. They fought back to back, their ammunition running low. Marcus dropped his empty rifle and pulled his sidearm. The pistol barked 9 times. 9 aliens fell. He dropped the empty magazine and loaded his last one. Riley, we need to move. Marcus shouted over the chaos. I'm hit, Chief. Riley's voice was weak. Left leg. Can't walk. Marcus grabbed Riley's vest and dragged him behind a massive tree trunk. Energy beams scorched the bark above their heads. He fired his pistol around the tree, not aiming, just buying seconds. His mind raced through options. They were surrounded. No extraction possible. No support coming. Riley coughed blood. Leave me, Chief. Get out of here. SEALs don't leave SEALs, Marcus said. He pulled his knife. If bullets wouldn't work, he would use steel. The aliens rushed their position. Marcus met them with violence that surprised even himself. He moved like water flowing between enemies. His knife found the soft joints in their armor. Green blood sprayed across his uniform. He took hits. Energy burns across his shoulder. A claw raked his leg. Pain was just information. He kept fighting. He killed 6 aliens with his knife before something hit him from behind. The impact drove him to his knees. His vision blurred. More aliens piled on top of him. Heavy bodies pressed him into the red soil. He struggled, but there were too many. His knife was torn from his hand. They bound his wrists with some kind of metal that tightened automatically. Marcus tried to break free, but the restraints were too strong. He looked for Riley and saw his corpsman lying still. Surrounded by alien soldiers, dead or unconscious, Marcus couldn't tell. The aliens hauled Marcus to his feet. He counted the bodies around him. 23 dead aliens. His entire team was gone. He had failed them. The thought hurt worse than his injuries. One alien approached him. This one was different, taller. Its armor was decorated with symbols Marcus didn't recognize. It studied him with its multiple eyes, making a series of clicking sounds. Another alien, smaller than the others, carried a device that projected holographic images. The decorated alien spoke in its clicking language. The device translated into English. You fight well for prey. Your species is new to us. You will provide valuable information. Marcus spat blood at the alien's feet. You'll get nothing from me. The alien made a sound that might have been laughter. We shall see. You are the first of your kind we have captured alive. Most die quickly. You are interesting. They dragged Marcus through the forest to a clearing where a massive ship waited. The vessel was unlike anything human engineers had built. It looked organic, like a giant insect made of metal. The hull was dark and covered with strange patterns that seemed to move in the light. Inside the ship was dim and humid. The aliens pulled Marcus through corridors filled with other prisoners. He saw dozens of different species. Some looked almost human. Others were so alien that Marcus couldn't understand their basic shape. All of them looked defeated, broken. They didn't even look up as he passed. The aliens threw Marcus into a cell. The door sealed behind him with a hiss. The cell was small, maybe 8 feet by 8 feet. One wall was transparent, showing the corridor outside. The other walls were smooth metal. There was a bench and nothing else. Marcus sat on the bench and assessed his situation. His injuries were painful but not critical. The burns would heal. His leg wound was shallow. His wrists were still bound. The cell had no obvious weaknesses. Guards patrolled the corridor every few minutes. In the cell across from him, a creature sat hunched in the corner. It had gray skin and long arms. Its eyes were huge and dark. When it saw Marcus looking, it made a gesture that might have been a greeting. Marcus nodded back. He was a prisoner now. His team was dead. His mission had failed. The aliens called his species prey. They thought humans were weak. Easy to capture, easy to break. They were wrong. Marcus had spent his entire adult life preparing for impossible situations. This was just another mission. The objectives had changed, but the basic principle remained the same. Survive. Adapt. Overcome. He studied the guards. He watched their movements. He counted their weapons. He noted the timing of their patrols. Even in chains, even in a cell, Marcus Cross was still a Navy SEAL, still a warrior, still the Reaper. The aliens had made a mistake by taking him alive. They thought they had captured prey. They didn't understand what they had really caught. They had captured a predator, and predators don't stay caged forever. Marcus leaned back against the cold metal wall and closed his eyes. He would rest now, heal, learn, plan, and when the moment came, he would show these aliens what it meant to cage a human warrior. He would show them why his call sign was Reaper. The war had just begun. The interrogation room was cold and filled with a blue light that hurt Marcus's eyes. They had taken him from his cell hours ago, or maybe it was days. Time was hard to track on the alien ship. The guards had forced him into a chair that adjusted itself to hold his body in place. Metal bands wrapped around his chest, arms, and legs. The interrogator entered the room with the smaller alien carrying the translation device. This interrogator had different markings on its armor, silver lines that seemed to glow in the blue light. It moved with purpose, settling its forelegs around a console covered in holographic displays. "I am Interrogator Vextha of the Crithian Collective," the translator spoke in flat English. "You will answer questions about your species, your military capabilities, your world locations. You will cooperate." Marcus stared at the alien without speaking. In SEER training, they had taught him how to resist interrogation. Name, rank, serial number. Nothing else. These aliens weren't covered in the training manual, but the principles were the same. "Master Chief Petty Officer Marcus Cross," he said. "Service number 6742985. Vextha made a clicking sound. One of its clawed appendages touched the console. A holographic screen appeared showing Marcus's military records. He had no idea how they had accessed that information. Some kind of data extraction from his suit's computer, probably. "We already have basic information," the translator said. "Your designation, your training history, your mission parameters. What we want is strategic intelligence. How many worlds do humans control? What weapons do you possess? Where are your fleet positions?" Marcus stayed quiet. The alien watched him with its multiple eyes. After a long silence, Vextha made an irritated clicking sound. "Your resistance is pointless. We have conquered 47 species. All resisted at first. All eventually cooperated. Your species is weak, technologically primitive. You have nothing we fear." The interrogator continued scrolling through Marcus's files. Words and images flickered across the holographic display. Mission reports, training certificates, commendations. The alien paused at one entry. Its eyes focused on a single word that appeared in multiple documents. "What is this designation?" the translator asked. "Reaper. It appears frequently in your records. What does it mean? Marcus almost smiled. His call sign. They wanted to know about his call sign. It's what my team calls me, Marcus said. Why this word? What is its significance? Death, Marcus said simply. A reaper is what collects the dead, what harvests life. It's just a name. The interrogator input the word into its console. The translation system began processing. Marcus watched as the holographic display filled with text in languages he couldn't read. The alien languages, cross-references, cultural databases, historical records. Then something changed. The display flashed red. A symbol appeared that made Vextha go completely still. The interrogator's breathing changed. Its body language shifted into what looked like alarm. On the screen, Marcus could see two words side by side. In English, Reaper. In what must be the Krithian language, Kravath. Vextha stood abruptly. All four legs moved at once, carrying it away from the console. The interrogator made rapid clicking sounds to the translator alien, who responded with its own agitated noises. They seemed to be arguing. Finally, Vextha turned back to Marcus. Where did you acquire this designation? The translator demanded. Who gave you this name? Why do you carry the mark of Kravath? Marcus had no idea what the alien was talking about. I told you. My team gave me the name. It's just a call sign. Every operator has one. Lies. The translator's voice rose in pitch. The Kravath were exterminated 8,000 cycles ago. Their bloodline was destroyed. This cannot be coincidence. The interrogator touched the console again. Images appeared on the display. Ancient images, judging by their quality. They showed creatures that Marcus didn't recognize. They were humanoid, but not quite human. Taller, heavier, with bone ridges on their faces and hands that ended in thick claws. The images showed these creatures fighting. Always fighting. Against Krithian soldiers in armor that looked more primitive than what Marcus had seen. The Kravath, the translator explained, though Vextha seemed reluctant to continue. Ancient enemy. They nearly destroyed our homeworld. We fought them for 300 cycles. They refused to surrender. Refused to negotiate. They turned every battle into slaughter. When we finally defeated them, we eliminated their entire species to prevent future conflict. Marcus studied the images. And you think humans are related to them? The translation matrix connected your designation to their name, Vextha said. Kravath means the ender in Old Krithian, the one who brings completion, the one who harvests life. Your word reaper translates almost identically. It's just a word, Marcus insisted, but his mind was racing. This was information, intelligence, a weakness in the enemy's psychology. The interrogator seemed to struggle with some internal conflict. Finally, it made a decision. You will remain in holding while we investigate this anomaly. If your species has connection to the Kravath, the collective must know. If this is coincidence, you will be processed like other prisoners. The guards returned and removed Marcus from the chair. They dragged him back through the corridors. But this time, Marcus noticed something different. The guards kept their distance. They watched him more carefully. There was something in their body language, something that looked like fear. Back in his cell, Marcus sat on the bench and thought about what had happened. The aliens had a boogeyman, an ancient enemy that terrified them even after 8,000 years, and somehow his call sign connected to that fear. The creature in the cell across from him made a sound. Marcus looked up. The gray-skinned alien gestured for his attention, then began making deliberate movements with its long fingers. Sign language, Marcus realized. The creature was trying to communicate without speaking. Marcus spread his hands in a gesture of confusion. He didn't understand. The creature seemed to think for a moment, then moved to the transparent wall of its cell. Using one finger, it drew symbols in the condensation on the wall. Letters. The creature knew English letters. Slowly, carefully, it spelled out a message. They fear Kravath. Marcus nodded. The creature continued writing. Old stories, nightmare warriors, never surrender, never stop. Legends say Kravath made victory too expensive. More information. Marcus committed it to memory. The creature wasn't finished. It wrote one more line. I am Velkari, scholar. Been prisoner 30 years, can teach you about Kravath, about their tactics. Marcus looked at the alien scholar with new interest. 30 years as a prisoner. That meant this Velkari had survived longer than most, had learned how to work the system, and now it was offering information. Marcus touched his own wall and drew a simple message. Why help me? The Velkari wrote back, I hear guards talking. Word Reaper spreading through ship. Crew is nervous. If you are Kravath, or if they think you are, it changes everything. Maybe chance for freedom, first time in 30 years. Marcus understood. The old scholar saw an opportunity, a crack in the Crithian control, and it was smart enough to know that opportunity might only come once. Over the next several hours, while guards changed shifts and the ship hummed around them, the Velkari drew more symbols, told more stories. The Kravath had been masters of close combat. They never retreated, never showed mercy. They made every meter of ground cost the Crithians blood. They turned captures into suicide missions that killed hundreds of guards. They invented tactics specifically designed to create maximum fear. The Crithians had won the war eventually, but at enormous cost. Half their fleet destroyed, their homeworld scarred, a generation of warriors traumatized. The Kravath became their nightmare, their cautionary tale, their legend of horror, and now Marcus carried their name. By pure coincidence, his call sign connected to the most terrifying enemy in Crithian history. The translation had revealed something the Crithians spent 8,000 years trying to forget. That somewhere in the galaxy warriors like the Kravath might still exist. Marcus smiled in the darkness of his cell. The Crithians thought they had captured a prisoner. Just another defeated warrior from another primitive species. They had no idea what they had actually done. They had given him a weapon, a psychological weapon that might be more powerful than any gun or bomb. They had given him a legend to weaponize, and Marcus Cross, the Reaper, was going to use it. The trouble started on the 5th day of Marcus's captivity. Or maybe it was the 6th. Time blurred together in the constant dim lighting of the prison ship. Marcus had been using the time to learn. The Velkari scholar, whose name was Tethian, had been teaching him through their crude writing system. Teaching him about the Crithians, about their culture, about the Kravath legends. But today was different. Today the guards came to the cell block with different intentions. There were 6 of them. They carried shock weapons instead of their usual energy rifles. Marcus watched from his cell as they opened the door to a cell 3 spaces down. Inside was a small creature no bigger than a human child. It had fur like orange silk and huge eyes. The creature cowered as the guards entered. Entertainment time, one guard said in broken English. It seemed to be speaking for Marcus's benefit. We teach new prisoners their place. The guards dragged the small creature into the corridor. One of them activated a shock weapon. Blue electricity crackled from the tip. The creature screamed. The sound was high and full of terror. The guards made their clicking laughter sound. Marcus stood. His hands gripped the transparent wall of his cell. Every prisoner in the block was watching now. None of them moved. None of them protested. This was normal, Marcus realized. This was how the Crithians maintained control. Through fear, through random violence, the guards shocked the creature again. It collapsed, whimpering. The other guards kicked it with their legs. Not hard enough to kill, just hard enough to hurt, to humiliate, to break spirit. Something cold settled in Marcus's chest. He had spent 12 years fighting. 12 years seeing the worst that combat could offer. But this wasn't combat. This was cruelty. And cruelty was something Marcus Cross did not tolerate. Hey, Marcus shouted. His voice echoed through the cell block. Leave it alone. The guards stopped. All 6 turned to look at him. One of them, the leader judging by its armor markings, approached Marcus's cell. It spoke in Crithian. The translator device on its belt repeated the words in English. The human speaks, the one they call Reaper. You think you give orders here, Prey? I think you're cowards, Marcus said calmly. 6 trained soldiers against 1 unarmed civilian. Real impressive. The guard leader made an angry clicking sound. You are brave for one in a cage. Perhaps you need lesson too. It turned to the others. Open the human cell. We show him his place. Marcus stepped back as the cell door opened. The 6 guards entered. They spread out, surrounding him. Their shock weapons crackled with blue energy. The guard leader pointed at Marcus with one clawed appendage. Kneel, it commanded. Marcus looked at each guard in turn. He measured distances, calculated angles. His hands were no longer bound. They had removed the restraints days ago, confident the cell was secure enough. Big mistake. No, Marcus said. The closest guard lunged with its shock weapon. Marcus moved. All the training. All the experience. All the controlled violence of a Navy SEAL focused into pure action. He sidestepped the weapon, grabbed the guard's arm, and twisted. The joint broke with a crack. The guard screamed. Marcus stripped the shock weapon from its grip and drove the crackling end into the guard's throat. It dropped. The other guards rushed him. Marcus flowed between them like water. The shock weapon in his hands became an extension of his will. He struck the second guard across its triangular head. The impact shattered its skull. The third guard got its weapon up, but Marcus was faster. He blocked the strike, hooked the guard's leg, and sent it crashing to the floor. The shock weapon finished it. Fourth guard. Fifth guard. They came together. Marcus grabbed the fourth and used it as a shield. The fifth guard's shock weapon hit its companion by mistake. Marcus threw the dying guard at the fifth, knocking it off balance. 2 quick strikes. 2 dead guards. The guard leader backed toward the cell door. Its eyes were wide. Its body language screamed fear. It made rapid clicking sounds. Calling for help, Marcus assumed. Marcus advanced. The leader swung its weapon desperately. Marcus caught the arm, stepped inside the guard's reach, and drove his elbow into the soft joint where the armor met the neck. The guard dropped. Marcus brought the shock weapon down one final time. 6 guards, maybe 30 seconds. Marcus stood among the bodies, breathing hard. The shock weapon sparked and died in his hand. Overloaded. He dropped it and looked out at the corridor. Every prisoner was staring. Their faces showed shock, disbelief. Even Tethan the Scholar looked stunned, its large eyes wider than usual. Alarms started blaring. Red lights flashed in the corridor. Marcus heard the sound of more guards coming. Lots of them. He stepped back into his cell and waited. There was no escape, not yet. But he had made his point. 20 guards arrived. They secured the corridor with weapons drawn. Their leader, wearing armor with gold markings, approached the cell cautiously. It looked at the 6 dead guards, then at Marcus, who stood calmly in the center of his cell. "Seal this section," the gold-armored leader commanded. "Lock down all cells. Get the security recording. I want to see what happened." They sealed Marcus's cell with an additional energy barrier. The transparent wall now crackled with electricity. The gold-armored leader stayed, watching as technicians retrieved the security footage. They projected it on a holographic display in the corridor. Marcus watched along with everyone else. The footage showed everything. The guards entering his cell. The fight. The speed. The efficiency. The absolute violence. The gold-armored leader watched it 3 times. Each time its body language became more tense. Other guards arrived. Officers, judging by their armor. They watched the footage too. Marcus heard them talking in Crithian. He couldn't understand the words, but the tone was clear. They were arguing. Some were afraid. Others were angry. All of them kept looking at Marcus. One officer, older than the others with scarred armor, touched a control panel. The footage zoomed in on Marcus's movements, played them in slow motion. The officer made a series of rapid clicks that silenced the others. "Look at the pattern," a translator device said. The old officer was speaking. "The way he moves. The targeting of weak points. The use of the enemy's own weapon. This is not random violence. This is trained combat, refined, perfected. This is..." The officer paused. "This is Kravath doctrine." Silence in the corridor. The word hung in the air like a bomb. Kravath. The nightmare warriors. The ancient enemy. "Impossible," another officer said. "The Kravath are extinct. This is coincidence. The human is simply trained." "Watch again," the old officer insisted. It replayed the footage. The Kravath war records show the same techniques. Close quarters combat. Weapon stripping. Using multiple opponents against each other. Maximum lethality with minimum movement. The humans fight like the Kravath. Perhaps they are descended from them. Perhaps they are the Kravath, returned. "Ridiculous superstition," a younger officer protested. But Marcus saw the fear spreading. The way guards stepped back from his cell. The way they checked their weapons. The way they looked at him. Not as a prisoner anymore. As something else. Something dangerous. Something from their nightmares. Tethan was writing on the cell wall again. Marcus looked across and read the message. "They are terrified. Your fighting style matches old records. Legend growing. Word spreading through ship. You are becoming Kravath to them." Marcus understood. He had not just killed 6 guards. He had confirmed their worst fear, that the Kravath were not truly extinct, that somewhere in the galaxy a species existed that fought like their ancient enemy, a species that refused to be broken. That turned captivity into bloodshed. Over the next hours, Marcus watched the change spread through the prison ship. Guards refused to patrol his section alone. Prisoners in other cells began whispering. The word Kravath spread like fire. Some prisoners, the ones who understood old Krithian language, started looking at Marcus with something like hope. A guard brought food to Marcus's cell, but instead of throwing it through the food slot like usual, the guard carefully placed it on a tray and slid it through with obvious caution. The guard never took its eyes off Marcus, never turned its back. Marcus ate slowly, thinking. He had been trained in psychological operations. Psyops, they called it. The use of propaganda and fear to achieve military objectives. This situation was a psyop opportunity. The Krithians had given him a legend. He had just proven the legend might be real. Now he needed to use it. He stood and walked to the transparent wall, looked directly at the nearest guard, made eye contact, then smiled. A cold smile. A predator's smile. The guard backed away 3 steps. It made a nervous clicking sound and hurried down the corridor. Tethan wrote another message. "What is your plan?" Marcus wrote back. "Make them more afraid. Teach others to fight. Turn prisoners into warriors. Show them what humans can do." The scholar's response came quickly. "Dangerous. They will kill you." Marcus wrote one final message before stepping away from the wall. "They will try, but now they know what happens when they open my cell. They know the cost. Reaper does not die cheap." In the command center of the prison ship, officers watched security feeds and argued about protocol. On a dozen other ships across the Krithian fleet, word spread through communication networks. A human prisoner had killed 6 guards in hand-to-hand combat, a human who carried the name Kravath in his own language. 3 weeks after Marcus killed the 6 guards, the Krithian High Command made their decision. Marcus learned about it when a full security team arrived at his cell. 20 guards, all heavily armed, all keeping maximum distance. They were taking no chances. The gold-armored commander from before spoke through a translator. "Prisoner Marcus Cross, you are being transferred to maximum security installation Krath 9. The Maw, you will be contained there until High Command decides your fate." The Maw Marcus had heard whispers about it from other prisoners. It was where the Krithians sent their most dangerous captives, political prisoners, war criminals, beings too valuable to kill but too dangerous to keep in normal facilities. "Nobody ever escaped from the Maw." "Sounds like fun," Marcus said. The guards fitted him with restraints, not just wrist bindings this time. They used a full containment suit that limited his movement to small steps. They surrounded him with a portable energy field. They were scared, and their fear made them careful. As guards marched Marcus through the corridors, prisoners pressed against their cell walls to watch. Marcus had spent the last 3 weeks training some of them, teaching them through gestures and crude drawings, teaching them to fight, to resist, to be dangerous. Now they watched him leave with expressions that mixed hope and despair. Tethan, the scholar, stood at its cell wall. The old Velkari touched its forehead with 3 fingers. A salute, Marcus had learned. A gesture of respect. Marcus nodded back. The guards took Marcus to a docking bay where a small transport ship waited. They loaded him into a secure hold. The space was tiny, barely larger than his cell. But the walls were thicker, reinforced. The door had 3 separate locking mechanisms. The transport launched. Through a small window, Marcus watched the prison ship grow smaller. He was being moved, isolated, removed from the general population. The Krithians were trying to contain the legend before it spread further. But legends do not need the person to survive. They take on life of their own. Marcus felt the transport enter faster than light travel. The window showed strange colors that hurt to look at. Hours passed, or maybe days. Then the colors faded and normal space returned. Through the window, Marcus saw a massive station, the Maw. It looked like a fortress floating in space, all angles and armor and weapon arrays. Docking procedures took an hour. When the hold door finally opened, Marcus faced a new group of guards. These were different from prison ship security. Harder, more disciplined. Elite troops, Marcus recognized. The Crithian equivalent of special forces. They moved him through the station with military precision. The corridors here were wider than the prison ship, cleaner. Everything was designed for maximum security. Cameras everywhere. Checkpoints every 50 meters. Guard posts with overlapping fields of fire. Marcus's new cell was deep in the station core. The space was larger than before but completely sealed. No transparent walls, just solid metal on all sides. One small food slot. One tiny camera in the ceiling. No windows. No way to see other prisoners or guards. Perfect isolation. The Crithians were trying to cut him off from everything. No communication. No influence. Just silence and waiting. They left him there for what felt like days. No contact except food arriving through the slot at regular intervals. No sounds except the distant hum of the station. Marcus used the time to exercise. Push-ups, sit-ups, shadow boxing, keeping his body ready, keeping his mind sharp. On the 5th day, the cell door opened. 6 elite guards entered with weapons raised. Behind them came an officer Marcus had not seen before. This one wore white armor with black markings, some kind of high-ranking commander. "I am strategist Krell," the translator spoke. "I commanded fleets in the border wars. I have studied military history for 40 cycles. I have read the accounts of the Kraveth War." The officer moved closer, studying Marcus with intelligent eyes. "I do not believe in coincidence. I think your species has connection to the Kraveth. I think humanity may be their descendants. And that terrifies the High Command." Marcus stayed quiet. "Let the officer talk." Intelligence gathering worked both ways. "We cannot kill you," Krell continued. "You are too valuable for study, but we cannot let you inspire rebellion in other prisoners. So we isolate you here, forever if necessary." "Forever is a long time," Marcus said. "Perhaps, but you will not." Krell stopped. Distant alarms began wailing. The officer's head turned sharply. It made rapid clicking sounds. One of the elite guards touched a communication device and responded. "Riot in the transfer section," the translator spoke. "Multiple prisoners attempting escape. They are using coordinated tactics, attacking weak points in guard formations." Krell's eyes went wide. It looked at Marcus with new understanding. You taught them. The prisoners you were held with. You taught them how to fight." Marcus smiled. "I taught them a few things. Seems they were good students." The officer and guards rushed from the cell. The door sealed behind them. Marcus was alone again, but now he could hear chaos through the walls. Alarms, weapons fire, shouting in multiple languages. The riot was spreading. What Krell did not know, what the Crithians could not have known, was that Marcus had not just taught combat techniques. He had taught something more important. He had taught coordination, organization. The prisoners who watched him leave had continued his work. They had passed the knowledge to others, created networks, made plans, and Marcus had left them something else, a message, a signal. When the human called Reaper was transferred, that was the trigger. That was when they should act. When guards would be distracted. When security would be focused elsewhere. The riot was not random. It was planned, timed, executed. Hours passed. The chaos continued. Marcus heard explosions. More alarms. The lights in his cell flickered. He waited, patient, ready. Then his door opened, but not from guards. A group of prisoners stood in the corridor. Different species, all armed with weapons taken from guards. At the front was Tethan, the old Velkari scholar. Behind the scholar stood the small furred creature Marcus had protected. "Time to go, Kravath," Tethan said through a stolen translator device. "We control 3 decks. We have weapons. We have a plan. But we need you to lead us." Marcus stepped into the corridor. Around him, prisoners stood ready. They looked at him with expressions of hope and determination. They were not broken anymore. They were warriors now, dangerous, united. "How many?" Marcus asked. 200 prisoners freed," Tethan reported. "Maybe 50 guards killed. We hold the docking bay. But reinforcements are coming. We have maybe 1 hour before they retake the station." Marcus thought fast, tactically. 200 freed prisoners against thousands of guards. The station was a fortress. No way to hold it long term. But maybe they did not need to hold it. "The docking bay," Marcus said. "How many ships?" 6 small transports. 2 cargo vessels. 1 light cruiser. "Can any of you fly them?" A prisoner stepped forward. It had blue scales and multiple arms. "I was cargo pilot before capture." 20 years ago. I can fly the transports. Another prisoner raised a clawed hand. I served in my world's navy. I know weapons systems, more voices, more skills. Marcus was not leading broken prisoners anymore. He was leading survivors, fighters, people who had been waiting for this chance for years. Here is what we do, Marcus said. We take the cruiser. Pack everyone who can fit. The ones who cannot fit take the transports and scatter. Different directions. Make the Crithians chase multiple targets. The cruiser pushes straight through their blockade. We broadcast everything as we go. Every moment. Every fight. Show the whole galaxy what happens when you cage predators. They will destroy us, one prisoner said quietly. Probably, Marcus agreed. But first we make them pay. We show them the cost. We show every enslaved species in Crithian space what resistance looks like. We become the example, the spark, the proof that the collective can be hurt. The prisoners looked at each other. Then one by one they nodded. They understood. This was not about survival. This was about making a statement. About showing the Crithians that their control was not absolute. That even in their most secure facility, even in the maw, prisoners could fight back. Marcus led them toward the docking bay. They moved in tactical formation, the way he had taught those first prisoners. Covering each other, clearing corners, taking out guard posts with coordinated strikes. Every prisoner fought with new purpose, new strength. They reached the docking bay. The blue-scaled pilot ran to the cruiser. Others took positions at the bay entrances. Marcus found the communication station and activated it. Set it to broadcast on all frequencies. This is Master Chief Marcus Cross of Earth, he spoke into the transmitter. To all Crithian forces, to all conquered species, we are prisoners taking back our freedom. We are showing you that the collective can be beaten. We are showing you that resistance is possible. Remember this day. Remember that those you call prey can become predators. Remember the Reaper. Remember the Kravoth, alarms screamed. Heavy blast doors began closing. Crithian reinforcements poured into the docking bay. Energy weapons lit up the space. Marcus grabbed a fallen guard's rifle and returned fire. Around him, prisoners fought with everything they had. The cruiser's engines roared to life. "Everyone aboard!" Tethan shouted. Prisoners ran for the ship. Marcus provided covering fire, dropping guard after guard. The escape pod tumbled through space. Inside, Marcus floated in zero gravity, his body battered but alive. The cruiser had not survived. The Crithian warships had torn it apart piece by piece. But in those final moments, the pilot had done something brilliant. He had launched all the escape pods at once in different directions, while the cruiser made one last desperate attack run. The Crithians could not chase them all. Marcus's pod was one of 7 that made it clear. 7 survivors out of 200. The cost had been high, but the message had been sent. Their broadcast had reached across multiple systems before the cruiser died. The entire galaxy had watched prisoners escape the maw, watched them fight, watched them make the Crithians bleed. Marcus's pod drifted for 6 days before human sensors picked it up. A patrol frigate changed course and recovered the small vessel. When the airlock opened and Marcus floated inside, the human crew stared at him like he was a ghost. "Master Chief Cross?" the ship's captain asked. "You were declared killed in action 3 months ago. Your whole team. We found the crash site, found bodies. Only their bodies," Marcus said quietly. "I was taken alive. Been their prisoner ever since." They gave him medical attention, food, water, a bed, but Marcus barely slept. His mind was already working, planning. The Crithians had made mistakes. He had learned their weaknesses, their fears, their psychology. That information was a weapon and humanity needed to know about it. The debriefing took 3 days. Marcus sat in a secure room at Fleet Command headquarters and told them everything. The capture, the interrogation, the Kravoth legend, the riot, the escape. Intelligence officers filled dozens of documents with his report. They asked 1,000 questions. Marcus answered them all, but the most important part came at the end, when Marcus explained what he had discovered. "They are afraid," he told the assembled officers. "The Crithians conquered 47 species through overwhelming force, but there was one species they almost lost to. The Kravoth, 8,000 years ago, and they still have nightmares about it. When my call sign translated to their ancient word for those warriors, it triggered something. Fear. Deep fear. Admiral Richardson, Commander of the Third Fleet leaned forward. You are saying we can use psychological warfare against them? I am saying they gave us a weapon without knowing it, Marcus replied. They think humans might be descended from the Kravoth, or similar to them. When I fought in front of their guards, when prisoners saw that a human could kill trained soldiers in seconds, it confirmed their fear. The legend spread through their prison system. That broadcast went across their communication networks. Right now, somewhere in Krithian space, people are talking about the human who escaped the Maw, the Reaper, the Kravoth. But you are just one man, another officer said. One soldier, no matter how skilled, cannot defeat an empire. Marcus smiled. The cold smile that had terrified his guards. I am not proposing that one soldier defeats them. I am proposing that we become the Kravoth. All of us, every human operator. We fight the way I fought. We refuse to surrender. We make every battle cost them. We turn the legend into reality. We become their nightmare. Silence in the briefing room. Then Admiral Richardson spoke. What would that look like? Operationally? Marcus spent the next 2 hours explaining. Small unit tactics, hit-and-run attacks, targeting their fear response. Broadcasting every victory, never backing down, never showing weakness. Making the Krithians pay in blood for every meter of ground, exactly like the Kravoth had done 8,000 years ago. We cannot win through conventional warfare, Marcus said. They have more ships, more soldiers, more territory. But we can win through psychology. We can make them so afraid of fighting humans that they collapse from within. Their enslaved populations will see humans resisting. They will resist too. The collective will fracture. It is already happening. That riot in the Maw was not just humans. It was 7 different species working together. All inspired by one simple idea, that the Krithians can be beaten. The officers debated for hours after Marcus left. Some called it crazy, suicide, impossible. Others saw the opportunity, a weakness in a seemingly invincible enemy, a way to turn humanity's smaller numbers into an advantage. 3 days later, Admiral Richardson called Marcus to her office. The Joint Chiefs approved your plan. We are calling it Operation Reaper. You will lead the first team. Train them. Show them how to fight like you do. Then we deploy across Krithian space and become their worst nightmare. Marcus assembled his team over the next month. He chose operators from every Special Forces unit, SEALs, Rangers, Delta, Marines Force Recon, the best of the best. He trained them harder than they had ever been trained before. Not just in tactics, in psychology, in fear. The Krithians expect enemies to fight conventionally, he told them, to retreat when outnumbered, to surrender when captured, to follow the rules of warfare. We will do none of those things. We will fight like the Kravoth. We will be relentless. We will never stop. We will make them so afraid that they see us in every shadow. The first mission launched 2 months after Marcus's rescue. His team of 12 operators infiltrated a Krithian prison ship. The same ship where Marcus had been held. They moved through the corridors like ghosts, silent, deadly. They killed guards without raising alarms. They freed prisoners and armed them. They took control of the ship in 40 minutes, but Marcus did not stop there. He used the ship's communication system to broadcast a message. On every Krithian frequency, to every enslaved world, this is the Reaper. We have returned. The Kravoth have returned. Your prisons will not hold us. Your guards cannot stop us. We are coming for all of you. Then they left, took the freed prisoners in escape shuttles and vanished before reinforcements arrived. The Krithians found their ship intact but empty, guards dead at their posts, cells open, and everywhere Marcus had left a symbol, a simple mark, a scythe, the mark of the Reaper. More teams deployed, more missions. Each one broadcast across Krithian networks. Human operators became legends. They hit supply depots, communication stations, command posts, always in small numbers, always with maximum psychological impact. They never fought battles they could not win. They never stayed to be surrounded. They struck like lightning and disappeared. The Krithian military began to fracture. Soldiers hesitated, questioned orders. Some units refused to patrol areas where humans had been seen. Prison riots increased. Enslaved populations started rebelling, shouting Kravoth as their battle cry. The symbol of the scythe appeared on walls across dozens of worlds. 6 months after Operation Reaper began, Marcus led his team back to the Maw, the fortress where he had been prisoner, where he had started the riot. where 200 prisoners had died buying time for the legend to spread. This time he brought more than 12 operators. He brought 50, and he brought freed prisoners from a dozen species, all trained in human tactics, all carrying weapons, all ready to show the Crithians that the maw could be broken. The attack was brutal and swift. They disabled the station's weapons, cut its communications, breached the hull in 3 places. Marcus led the assault personally, moving through corridors he remembered. They freed every prisoner, killed every guard who resisted. The ones who surrendered, Marcus let live. Let them spread the story. In the command center, Marcus found strategist Krell, the officer who had studied the Cravath, who had understood the danger. Krell sat at a console watching security feeds of humans and freed prisoners taking the station. "You were right," Marcus said through a translator. "Humans are like the Cravath, not descendants, just similar. Because every prey species that survives long enough eventually becomes a predator. Earth taught us that, made us that. You made a mistake trying to cage us." Krell looked at Marcus with something like resignation. "The collective is collapsing. 17 worlds in rebellion. Fleet commanders refusing to engage human forces. The High Command is in chaos. You did this. One soldier. One legend. Not just me," Marcus corrected. "Every human operator. Every freed prisoner. Every species that decided to stop being prey. You did this to yourselves by believing the strong can always dominate the weak. By forgetting that the weak can become strong. They left the maw a burning wreck. Every prisoner freed, every guard dead or fleeing. The symbol of the Reaper painted across every surface. The broadcast went out to every corner of Crithian space. The fortress had fallen. The unbreakable had broken. Over the next year, the Crithian collective died. Not from human military might. From fear, from internal collapse, from enslaved populations who had seen what resistance looked like. The empire that had stood for thousands of years crumbled in months. Marcus stood before the Human Colonial Congress to give his final report. They offered him medals, promotions, recognition. He accepted them quietly. But when they asked him to speak publicly about his experience, he kept his words simple. "The Crethians made 2 mistakes," he said. "First, they captured me alive. Second, they were afraid of a word, Reaper, Cravath, whatever you call it. They forgot that every predator was once prey that learned to fight back. They forgot that humans spent millions of years learning to survive on a planet that tried to kill us every day. They forgot that when you corner a predator, it does not surrender. It attacks.